Hey everybody, welcome to the Good Evening Kitties podcast, a Tales from the Crypt review. My name is Melissa, your ghostess with the mostest, and this episode is season 5, episode 11, Oils Well That Ends Well. I have a special guest host here today with me, Ivotres. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Thank you for being on here today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. I started following you on Twitter because I really enjoyed, you were putting out videos about different like horror movie icons you had met and what it meant to you and things like that, and I really thought I liked your passion for the horror movies and all that. And so I was like, okay, I want to see some more of this. So I started following that, and so then I decided to ask if you'd be on here. You said yes, which is great. So tell everyone a little bit about what you do in the horror community.
Well, I try to do a lot of things. Mostly is to really promote horror as a fun genre. It's not, just blood and guts and gore and, whatever you want to believe it is. It's fun. I mean, it's enjoyable. You're supposed to have a good time, friends, family, scare people. That's how I see it. That's how I grew up in it. And also, I have a YouTube to where in the past, I've interviewed like celebrities at horror conventions. And then right now, because, the whole COVID thing, that's kind of on hold right now. So I turned that into, just doing movie reviews. But at the same time, I try to incorporate what's in the movie I'm reviewing into the review itself in some way. So I thought that was fun, and I tried it out, and it works really well. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's very enjoyable to do. I like to be funny and have fun and just enjoy that kind of stuff. And I'm mostly on Twitter and Instagram, and just having goofy pictures and fun pictures and talk about movies and have you seen this and help promote them and things like that. So yeah.
So recently you did a video with Barbara Crampton from the movie Reanimator. How did that come about?
Well, like I said, the first one I did was host, and I kind of incorporate some element into there. And I was like, oh, well, the next one on the list was Reanimator. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if I could get an actor from the movie. And I know just recently, a little bit before that, she started following me on Twitter. And I was like, let me just ask her. And I asked her, and she, a little bit later, she contacted me back and was like, sure. Just like that. And I was like, oh, snap. So I wrote a little script and I sent it to her. And I didn't hear from her about it in like 2 days. So I didn't know, like, I asked her if she needed any questions or answered or have anything, a problem or nothing. And she didn't say anything. She was like, oh, I got it. Like that. And she did exactly the way I wrote it in the script. So I was like, oh, those film classes really did help out when it comes to script writing.
It was really great. Yeah, she seems like she's really sweet. Like, she's pretty active with everyone on Twitter. And I mean, I know a lot of some of the horror movie actors they're used to the conventions and stuff and being open with people and hearing everyone's passion for it, and then like taking silly pictures. Like, I know Jeffrey Combs, I had to think of the name. He'll do like pictures with the Reanimator syringe and things, like he's injecting people and stuff. So yeah, so that's really great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
She just took off with it.
Yeah, it was like she was like, oh, just call me. And so when I called her and she answered, I was like, oh my goodness, hi. She's like, hello. So we talked about it, and then it went down, but she did exactly the way I wrote it in the script. Like, I detailed external, outside, daylight. I put everything, and she did it perfectly. She did like 3 takes, so which was nice, because then I got different angles and I could figure out which one I like, and it worked out pretty well. And it was just a nice add-on to it to see her do that again.
That's awesome. So, with Tales from the Crypt, do you have any history with the show, or what do you
like? I was watching it when it was new episodes.
Oh, okay.
So definitely it wasn't in syndication yet. I do remember I watched a lot of it until like I watched like it came out in '89, so I kept watching it until it was like I don't know 1990. Oh my goodness, I feel old when I say 90, 1990. Well, anyway, I kept watching it for quite some time.
Yeah, because
And
it ran till 96.
yeah, and I was already into other things at that
Yeah.
time, but I do remember it way past the 90s, like probably 94 is kind of when I was like off and on at that point. But I do remember a lot of the episodes, and I was kind of going through them, picking the ones of my favorites that I can remember off the bat, and I had three.
All right, cool. What are they?
Well, the three that I had to write them down because it was so long ago, but it was TerraVision, and that one scared me pretty good. It was TerraVision, and it was season 2, episode 16.
The television terror.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that one was pretty fun.
A lot of people remember that one. I really didn't remember it at the time, and it didn't stand out too much to me, but I think it's just the whole horror movie found footage type shooting from the camera view that really sticks out.
Yeah, what really scared me about that is that when he was in the haunted house, because he was the host of his own, like haunted, shock video show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened to the cameraman, and you wasn't sure. You thought, oh, he just fell or something, because all you just see is the camera moving around and then kind of fall, and then it picks back up, and then he picks up with the show, and then he walks in the room, and then he's like seeing someone hanging there, and he was like, are you getting this? Are you getting, he like kept looking up, and it was the cameraman.
Yeah, I love that part. That part's so fun because it's just like, who's got the camera? Who's got the camera?
That one was really good. The ventriloquist dummy really really creeped me out with that one. And gosh, it had Don Rickles in there, which I forgot. I haven't seen him in the film so long. Obviously he passed, but far as like anything else other than that, he's such a great actor. And then you have Bobcat.
Yeah, it's
there.
just a lot of slapsticky type things, and then just the creature itself is so memorable because it's just so hideous and weird.
It's very hideous and weird, and that one was a fun one. That one scared me as a kid when I saw that. I was like, ooh, look at, and then it was like crawling on the ground with the two hands. It was like, and dead weight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when he was trying to get a black pearl, but really the character, I forgot how you say her name, Pellegrini, who played by Whoopi Goldberg, she had other means.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that for her to be the one at the end, because they kind of had a little bit of a red herring on some of that one. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty fun too.
Yeah, so those three are my favorites that I can remember.
Yeah, those are great choices. Yeah, 'cause I don't always hear on some of those. Like most people tend to say, like in All Through the House with the Santa, or like one of my favorites is Death of Some Salesman, which is the one with Tim Curry where he plays the 3 different characters.
Oh.
There's one where he plays a mom, a dad, and a daughter. And they're like all murder. They kill salesmen and stuff. Come to their house. So I mean, that's awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit here about the episode, and then we'll get started. As always, John Kassir does the voice of the Crypt Keeper, and Danny Elfman does the theme song. This episode aired, Season 5, Episode 11, Oil's Well That Ends Well, aired November 24th, 1993. It is directed by Paul Abascal, who also directed TV's America's Most Wanted, America Fights Back. The screenplay was by Scott Nimmerfro. It stars Lou Diamond Phillips from movies like Stand and Deliver, Priscilla Presley from TV's Dallas, Noble Willingham from movies like The Howling, Alan Ruck from TV's Spin City. There's a special cameo by John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper himself, Steve Gahan from movies like Lethal Weapon, and Rory Calhoun from movies like Motel Hell.
See, I didn't even look, I just put it on, so I didn't look at who was in it and anything like that. I was just sat there and watched it the first time, and I was like, gosh, she looked like Priscilla Presley. A little different, but it looked like, gosh, she looked like her. But then you have to think it's the 90s. I mean, I guess she wasn't really, because she changed her face. So she was still young.
Well, and I forget about how much younger she was than Elvis Presley when they got married.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I guess it's because she's only like in her 50s or something here, I think. So I'm just like, oh, okay, he's supposed to be a lot older. But yeah, so here's I'm gonna go ahead here and read the description too on the back of the box here. Crude business, flim-flammers run a black gold scheme and score cash, but that's not oil they'll get. They even throw the puns into the description. They're just having a great time.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start the episode here. Okay, so this episode starts out, you got the Crypt Keeper in his crypt, and he's playing his own pinball game. That is a Tales from the Crypt pinball, which I wouldn't mind having. That sounds fun. I love pinball.
I've never seen it anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think I have either, because I know I would have played it.
Yeah.
If I would have seen it, like at a bowling alley or something. So yeah, so he's having fun, throwing puns and playing his game and bringing in the episode. So it starts out, it shows the entrance of like a cemetery and like a mausoleum type thing, and there's sounds that are being played that sound not like they're just digging.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds more like someone's having some fun in the cemetery.
Yeah, I was like, I think I got the wrong Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, when I started it up too, I was like, oh, they're starting with that already. Okay. Because it was on HBO, so they threw in things from time to time. But I was like, wow, in a cemetery, of course, there's so much fog. Just, you can't even see anything. So, yeah, my note is digging sounds like banging. So it gets brought up here, and it's Lou Diamond Phillips and Priscilla Presley, and they're playing the character of Jerry and Gina. And they're in the beginning, well, it's like they're digging up this grave, and in the grave is John Kassir, who is the voice of the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
He's very silly.
Very.
I like his hair, and I like that he has a cameo in this, but honestly, I'm not sure what accent he was trying to do. Because it was like the way he was talking. I don't think that's how he normally talks. Like, I've heard him talk.
I think he was trying to change his voice because I think naturally he probably sounds like the Crypt Keeper.
That's true. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, so he's like, maybe if I just do something completely different, like, I don't know if it was like Boston or something he was trying to do.
Yeah.
It kind of made it a little more annoying to watch him. Like, I enjoyed the character, but
I think that's probably what he was going for, because he came out of there as soon as it opened, it was just insults after insult after insult. I was like, jeez.
Yeah, I think he probably had a good time playing it. It was just all over the place.
Yeah.
So he's coming out of the coffin, and you got Lou Diamond Phillips, and he's been digging probably not that deep, I guess. If it was a fairly quick funeral, the ground's pretty loose, but it's slowly just like some sort of plot. Like, they gave him something to kill him, make it seem like he was dead, and then buried him, and he came back up. And you got Priscilla Presley. She looks great, I think. I mean, she's smoking, and she's got this resting bitch face all the time, and she's just having a good time. And so her and Lou Diamond Phillips' character are together.
Baby, you always wear your seatbelt, right? Even when I'm not around?
Even when you're not around.
You sure? You never forget? It's just that I worry about you. And you exercise, right, baby? You do some sort of aerobics 3 times a week?
I do enough.
But baby...
Gina, darling, you're driving me nuts. I mean, hell, we porked once. You're acting like we're engaged or something.
I don't want to lose you. What if you have a heart attack or something?
Oh, I am not going to have a heart attack, all right? I'm not. Unless, of course, you drive me to it.
John Kassir's character is just kind of in the way.
The first thing he just comes out is attacks her. I was trying to figure out what kind of relationship did they have, because I thought at first they were together, like him and Larry were together. I thought Gina and Larry, because, but he insulted her since day one. And I was like, geez, I don't think they are together.
You're talking about Lou Diamond Phillips' character?
No, Larry.
Oh, Larry. Okay. Yeah. So you thought they were together.
I thought Larry and Gina was together. But Jerry
and then they were just having
Lou Diamond Phillips' character. Yeah.
So you thought maybe he was just like the muscle, just helping them get the... Yeah, I could see that more. I don't really see them together. Lou Diamond Phillips and Priscilla Presley. It doesn't seem to work. I mean, for one, there's a 17-year age gap. Not that that's a problem, but it's just that it's a little... You're like, I don't know.
But he looks great, too. I mean, he even looks great now. It's like, this man doesn't age either. but yeah, it was just like complete insult. And then let's get on with the show.
Well, because I think Larry, John Kassir's character, wasn't expecting them two to be together. So I think it just kind of like threw him off too. Because at one point he does say something, John Kassir says to them that Lou Diamond Phillips or Priscilla Presley introduced the bearded clam to the one-eyed worm was the line I was like, okay, like, that's gross.
And then their clothes are off, and he was like, so, I'm 6 feet under, and y'all decided to get it on.
Taking a hit of that voodoo juice and pretending to be dead is one thing, but if I had to listen to that goo-goo talk for one more second, I was gonna kick it for real. 20 G's, here you go, buddy boy. Just like clockwork.
And it's like, no, we've also been digging you up, man. But it doesn't help that Priscilla Presley's in like thigh-high stockings smoking in a cemetery.
No, it does not.
So they're all talking, yelling at each other and things like that. You're not sure like where this is going to go. You know it's some sort of heist and love thing going on. And that always works out great in a Tales from the Crypt episode. Yeah. Always. And so Lou Diamond Phillips shoots John Kassir.
Very unexpectedly.
Yes. And he falls directly back into the coffin. Like, it was a perfect shot.
And it just shuts. It was like, that's it. We're done. We're done with that.
So they're like, cool, done with that. So you're like, okay, well, these two are the ones who are going to backstab everybody or who are like in it together. But there's always some sort of little twist. Like, you never know who's going to screw whoever over in these episodes. And I hadn't really remembered this one too well. I did a little, but I couldn't remember. Some of these later episodes in the season, they're harder to remember. I'm used to like the first 4 seasons more so. Mm-hmm. So now it cuts to, okay, so they leave the cemetery, they grab all their clothes, they just leave the coffin open. Like, leave the gravesite open. They have all the dirt out, they didn't even cover it back up. Mm-hmm. And then now it cuts to this bar in this town, and you got 4 of these guys. Let's see, I think it's Mr. Petermeyer, Cardi, William, and Spider. And they're all hanging out and drinking, and just, there's a waitress coming by, and they're just being rude and crass. Especially Alan Ruck, who plays Cardi. Mm-hmm. He's definitely, I don't know, they act like they're like God's gift to women or something.
Yeah.
But really, it's like, take a bath, man.
Alan Ruck, I didn't even recognize him in that angle. I was like, I kept staring, I was like, God, he looks like Cameron. Everybody looks like something, but I can't pinpoint. I was like, why does he look like... So this was before I even did any kind of research of who the character were. So I was like, God, he looked like... And then once he turned his head, I was like, oh, snap, that was... Look at Cameron from Fairly Brewster's Day Off, and I forgot this was years after that.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird to see because he's just such a more brass, like harsh character than he was in that movie.
Yes, he was. Yes, he is. But they were just like insulting that poor waitress. I feel so bad for her. She's trying to do her job and respect the lady, and just straight up his dad was just like, well, when you find a lady, I'll respect her. Oh, well, okay, here we go.
So while they're doing this, in walks Priscilla Presley, and she's dressed in a very sharp business suit. She's got her hair slicked back. She's still got the cigarette going. She walks up, she gets a drink, and immediately these guys are like, oh, well, we gotta mess with her. We gotta talk to her.
Yeah.
And Alan Ruck's character stands up. His teeth are like yellow. And he walks over and immediately is hitting on her. And then she turns him down and he immediately calls her a lesbian.
Yeah.
And he says it really loud and long, like drags it out.
And she just grabs his crotch.
Oh yeah. Comes up from behind him, like through the butt cheeks. Grabs him, throws him down in her heels. I was like, you go, girl.
And I loved when she said, I don't munch carpet and I don't strap it on. I was like, wow, okay. Straight to the point.
Welcome, friend.
Same to you, Skinny. Another round for the house and a bottle of Jim Beam in the bar for me. I'm buying, so keep them coming. Got it.
Hey now, pretty lady.
Shove it in your pants, honey. There ain't no chance.
Lesbian.
Come here. I'm no lesbian, honey. I don't munch carpet and I don't strap it on. But I do hate men. And right now I hate them in a big way.
But yeah, so she's totally just all up in there. And then Rory Calhoun stands up like he's going to do something, but really he has, which I was surprised they showed, but a full catheter bag that he needs to go empty. Because he's, you know, he's like in his 80s or something, I think, in this. So, yeah, so they're immediately on her. And she's mad and yelling. And I kind of like I liked some of the speech that she gives.
There we go. That's the word I hate. Bitch. I show a little authority, I stress my will a little bit, and I'm a bitch. Men, you're all the same. You're just like the guys I work for. They want me to keep my mouth shut and do a good job. And as long as I do it like a good little girl, they can screw me all over and tell me to like it. And then when the day's done, they can stop screwing me so they can fuck me. Well, I say screw that. Screw them, screw the company.
Because there's a lot of cliches and stereotypes thrown at her in this episode. And even though at this time I'm still like, I mean, she's still bad. Don't get me wrong. They're all kind of bad people. But you're still kind of like, is she going to be the bad guy in this episode? If, you know, not all these guys are against her. She's got to hold her own against all these guys in the city. So what she's doing is acting, basically. Yeah. And it really didn't take long at all. Like, the fact that these guys jumped onto her bait so quickly.
Yes.
She didn't even have to do anything. Like, she just sat there and they came to her. And so she is talking to them about how she distributes black crude oil and things. And then here comes Lou Diamond Phillips' character. And he's acting like she screwed him over. And things like as if they don't know each other, you know, kind of situation. More that he's like, I guess it's more that he works for the oil.
Yeah, he works for a company that she's, I mean,
screwed
over. Basically, yeah. Like her whole schmeal, when I was listening to her, I was like, I think they're in cahoots in some way to con them, the guys that were in the bar. So, because she's like, oh, black oil, like really stressing about it. And Larry, he was like, you know, we need to talk about this. And, you know, he's like, no, let the lady talk. Let her. And he's like on her with his teeth. Yeah, it's like, ugh.
I know some of these names, the character names don't really, because you got like Jerry, Cardi, Larry, all these. I mean, Spider. I like Rory Calhoun's name. Spider's fun. Yeah, so it's basically she's like taking out a bunch of money from them, like screwing them over, like I said, and she kind of cons the guys in the bar to give her, if they all five of these guys, including Lou Diamond Phillips, who is acting like he doesn't know her, if they all give $5,000 to make $25,000, I think they're like trying to buy this property.
Yeah.
I think it was like they had a property they know that definitely has crude oil and they could all strike it big. And so they all decided to like go in on it. It's kind of a weird con.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird con because even I got confused. I was like, why do all this? Like, it was like,
yeah,
like, where is this? It was too much for something so small.
But it's also like, to walk in and see these 4 people who, nothing against them, but it's kind of an old country type bar.
Yeah.
To expect them all to have just $5,000 hanging on, that they can just be like, oh, here you go. Like, like to just be like, I can totally spare this $5,000.
But it turns out they kind of did in some form. It's like, what?
Yeah. So the fact that they could do it so easily, I still would have been a little shocked. So now they go to this property, and it's at the gravesite, the same cemetery they were at. And it's actually, I mean, it's a pretty small property.
Yeah.
Considering, actually. And so they all show up. Oh, I like this scene, too. Like, so Lou Diamond Phillips is caught up with Priscilla Presley's character, and the other guys are way ahead of them, so they can't hear him, right? So then they're, like, walking through, and there's really no oil in this thing. So they set up, like, a fake oil section or something to, like, so that when these guys see it, they'll be like, oh, there is oil. Like, but then you also are digging up this gravesite with all these people in it. Like, it's a little rude. Like, just be like, I'm sorry your grandma has to move because there's oil. So
yeah. And then that's when they were just trying to plot on how to invest in some kind of way to move the property, to get more money. It was just like this business going down with this little piece of oil. But as he walked, I mean, as he walked, he's like grabbing her.
Yeah, that's why I like this part. Like, so yeah, they walk by, and yeah, as they're walking, it's you hardly see it because you're kind of like looking at the expanse of the whole picture. But he just grabs, like right in the middle of her butt, just grabs both. So then, and no one else sees it, you know. So then they're walking, and then you see this bubbling puddle of oil coming out of this hole, and all the guys are like, "Oh man, yeah, it's right there." And I love this too, where like Lou Diamond Phillips is talking about how it goes, and he ends up giving him the finger.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So he's telling him about how the oil flows through the ground.
That's a seepage hole, all right.
A what? Well, it's your damn subsurface gas propelling the crude oil up through the fissure of least resistance in the cutaneal dermal crust.
He means it's sort of like farting in the bathtub.
Oh, I got it.
All right.
Yeah. So, what are we gonna do now? The cemetery is owned by the city.
Oh, well, I think we ought to set up a corporation and sell stock to those in town who might be interested.
So yeah, so now they're trying to figure out what they want to do. The cemetery is owned by the city, and they're thinking if they build this corporation, I think they could have enough to buy the land, and then whatever profit they make from this oil, they'll split it, you know, whatever, and they'll all be set for life, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess what they're planning to do is when they get the money, they'll just take off. So then they'll have, you know, this extra 20 grand or whatever.
Yeah. And he kept pushing that. He kept pushing, make sure you have your money, make sure I get my money.
Yeah. Yeah, which isn't suspicious at all.
No.
And so they're back now at the bar, and they all came back, and they're getting shots, I guess, to celebrate that they're going into this business deal. Okay, so the guys show up, the 4 guys with their money, and they have it in a briefcase, of course. But they're not as dumb as they look. So they've all been talking too.
Yeah.
So these 4 guys come up to Lou Diamond Phillips' character and Priscilla Presley, and they're like, okay, well, we want to make some, not really boundaries, or like a contract kind of thing. So they want to do this without creating suspicion, because there's a whole bunch of like foreclosed farmland and things like that. So technically the town isn't that well to do.
No.
So it would seem suspicious that all these guys just have $5 grand hanging around, and then they're going to make it big in this town, and then all these other friends of theirs and things are going to be like, what's going on?
And they used, like, because she's the mastermind behind all that, and she knows how to invest and how to do all these things with the money to make more money. And as they were listening to her, they was like, oh, well, if we all do this, we can get more money. So she was kind of like the blueprint of making more money. And that's when they decide, okay, she's smarter than we think, and let's see. And then that's when they came in there and they brought the briefcase and had more money in there. So they took that money. And at this point, they're like, okay, how about we take what we got and run? At least that's what Jerry Lou Diamond Phillips' character was like, let's take what we got and run. And she's like, nah.
Because, I mean, I think that was the original plan.
Yeah.
It was like, let's take this money, we'll get an extra 20 grand, no one has to die or figure anything out, we'll just go. And of course she's greedy. She's like, well, if they're right and we really can turn a really good profit off that, like they end up getting swindled by them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Turn a profit by that, then we can do that. So then they get in a fight, they're like in a hotel with the money, and they get in a fight and he storms out.
Of course, they all...
And so he leaves, and so then it cuts to, I guess, the next day. Yeah, and are they at a funeral home?
But it was kind of like, how did she know he was there?
Yeah, I guess they called her, or did they already have the meeting scheduled? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was like a complete, like, it just jumped to a whole different scene, whole different life of...
Yeah, there was something, maybe a scene missing or something. Yeah. So now they're at this funeral home, and the 4 guys that they were trying to swindle have Lou Diamond Phillips tied up, and he looks like he's been hit, like he's got like a bruise under his eye and
beaten or something. And he's like laughing and with all these caskets and coffins around him. The old man just like jabbed him,
hits him in the stomach with his cane. I cannot stand when guys in movies like this, in like a Southern movie, like when they wear their pants up around their stomach like that. Ugh, it's not an attractive look. I get it because you're wearing a suit coat over it usually, but when you take that suit coat off, you just look like you're gonna roll down a hill or something. So it's like really hot in this funeral home because everyone's always wiping their brow.
I know, right?
And yeah, that guy's just sweating buckets. And so they have Priscilla Presley, and they're basically kind of holding Lou Diamond Phillips, his character, like hostage kind of thing. Like,
you think you're real cute, don't you? Bastard. Where's the money? Where the fuck you stash the money?
Shut up.
Your boy Jerry broke into William's house and took him to the bank at gunpoint. He cleaned us out. Then Gardy saw you and him fighting last night. What was this? Was this some kind of a lover's quarrel?
Spying.
Well, let's just say I was driving by.
Okay, so we had a few words. So what?
Well, Williams finally got untied, and he called old Spider. Gardy. Boy, he was in luck. They knew right where to find him. That old cutlass of his was sitting right in the yard of Joe Osborne's house. They found it down there this morning about 5:30.
Joe Osborne. Who's he?
Tell you the truth, ma'am, it ain't no he. It's she.
Joe Osborne's that white trash slut that works the bar over at the Legion.
Makes a lot of sense. All right. Let's get to work.
She found out it was the waitress. He was like doing God knows what with her. And when he caught them, when they found out, I guess 2 other guys beat him up, or caught him and beat him up. Not those guys, which I thought, I was like, well, where did those guys come from that beat him up? And he hid the money. So now they called her to find the money that he stole from them because he hid it. It was like, I had to.
Yeah, it was really quick.
Yeah, it was
like
very quick. You had to like really
It went
listen.
from like, yeah, like I was still thinking about their fight in the hotel room. Like, what are we?
Yeah.
So she's like, cool, guys, I got this. So she opens up her briefcase, and she's got, which part of me would be like, is this like a truth serum? But no, I think it's more of what they injected John Kassir with. It kind of like stops your heart, I guess, and then restarts it.
Yeah.
It all sounds really dangerous. I would never want to mess with any of that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. Like, she was ready for that.
Oh, yeah, she says it's an acid that's gonna...
corrosive
erode all his... Yeah, and she's gonna put it through his bloodstream, and I guess it would just melt him? I don't know. So they're all, like, backing away because she has the needle. They're like, you know.
And then, you know, no one really tries to do anything. They just want, you know, it's like, where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money?
Yeah, they're fine with her killing him. You know, they're just like, go for it. So you got Lou Diamond Phillips, she's holding his hair back and he's looking all scared and things. And so part of me is still like, okay, well, who's conning who? Is this still an act? Is this something, like, is it still Priscilla Presley and Lou Diamond Phillips and they're still...
Because even at this point was just odd. I was like, this is odd. Something's off, and I couldn't figure it out.
Priscilla Presley and Lou Diamond Phillips, the way that they're trying to communicate with their eyes during this.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, maybe this is still a play, and this is the death serum. Like, they probably done this before with John Kassir's character, and this is how, they did something similar. And then his death face.
And then when she, like, pokes him with it, she was like
stomach.
This gratification, like her eyes were closed, and she's like, like she feed into it. And his death scene alone was like, oh my goodness, he's like shaking his head, convulsing, mouth open,
and his tongue out. And it's so how convenient that they're in a funeral home, so now they can throw him in a coffin and go bury him back in the similar, I guess just another similar hole in that, I guess that same grave site. It might have been a different one, because it seems like you would be risking digging up the oil if you're gonna be just digging all over this place. And it was a really small cemetery, but yeah. So now it's nighttime. Priscilla Presley has been probably at it for hours, digging up this gravesite to get Lou Diamond Phillips' character out. And she's just got to the coffin, and she's like pulling the dirt off. And right behind her, she stands up, and it's Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah.
How'd he get out of the coffin?
Yeah, she's like, who's it? If you're there, who's this?
She turns around. She's like, what's happening? She turns around, and it's Alan Ruck's character, Cardi. He's in the coffin now. So you're like, oh, okay, so they're all against her. Like, Lou Diamond Phillips had gotten to these guys beforehand, but if they've done cons before, I mean, maybe not. Maybe it was only just that other one with John Kassir. Maybe there hasn't been that many.
But it seemed like at this point, well, could she still be in it? See, you're still not sure if it's she's being conned or the guy is being conned. It's still unclear.
Well, because like right now it's just Lou Diamond Phillips and Alan Ruck, so it's like, okay, well maybe just the three of them, and then the three other old guys still didn't know, or whatever. But then she turns around and there's John Kassir. He did not die.
Carl!
Yeah, baby.
I don't understand. If you're up there, then...
What's happening, babe? Well, what can I say, Gina? The oil surveyor is a three-man con.
Damn it, Carl! Where's the money? Why didn't you tell me he was in on this?
Because, like he said, the oil surveyor's a three-man con. Nice to see you again, Gina. Blanks, just like before.
So he's in on it too.
But if you listen to a character, when he laughed, it sounds just like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, it is. So you're probably right. He's trying to throw it off a little bit. He's like, I can't sound too much like it. Because he even went on to do like the voice of Buster Bunny in like Tiny Toons. And even then at some points, I think it kind of sounds like a tiny Crypt Keeper sometimes. So
yeah, I think he just, at this point in the film, he was just like, screw it. Let me just sound like him. Like from then on, for a few seconds, he was the Crypt Keeper.
So he shoots her, and it's a blank. Like, she's like, oh my gosh, because she thinks she's being shot. And he's like, see, it's blanks. That's how it happened. So now she's down in the hole, still smoking her cigarette. Great leather jacket she's got on. And now they're talking about, you've, like, stepped on us this whole time, and you're horrible, and all of us guys had to get together. So now the other guys show up, so they're all against her.
Well, see, this was what I was like, so who was all, they were all, like, against her from the beginning? It seemed...
I think so.
Because they knew she would try to... Con. I think they knew she would get more money in some way. So they just played the game with her.
Yeah, they just needed her business skills, and then now that they're done with her... They act like she was so bad, though, but I don't think... I mean, she didn't seem like she was no worse than them.
No? But I think when she walked into the bar and she explained how people want to use women and make sure they're a good girl and then screw them over, I think that was exactly what was happening. Like
a type of foreshadowing kind of thing, yeah. They were just like, keep an eye on that sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all these guys are against her. Now they're going to make money, I guess, off this property, just off the whole thing she put together. It's still kind of a weird episode. It just kind of...
There's many holes.
Yeah, I feel like the plot could have been elaborated a little more, just so it wouldn't be so jumping all over the place.
I feel like it needed to be longer because it felt like scenes were cut out or missing because they kind of had to keep it in, I think it was like a 22-minute episode or something like that.
Yeah, it's usually like 22,
yeah,
25, something like that.
I would have watched this if this was an hour because I feel like there's more to it than what could have been done.
I mean, it could have maybe even been like a small, like a movie.
Yeah.
I could see if it was like had something else added to it, where like you have Priscilla Presley and Lou Diamond as someone who's known each other for a long time that they've been doing these cons.
Mm-hmm.
But so then Cardi goes to get out of the grave too next to Priscilla Presley's character, and there's oil on his shoe. But this time it's real oil.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh my gosh, it's real. That's crazy. It's actually here. We're really going to this is going to be amazing. We're going to make even more money.
But see, at the same time, I think she had a plan B.
So you think she knew
that
there really was oil there?
I think she, not well, because remember they planted the fake oil? So I don't think the oil was there. I think that's the plant oil, but I think she was prepared for something to happen if it didn't go right. Because when I was watching, when they were talking about, there's weird oil on his shoe and whatever, and she was just watching them, smoking her cigarette very calmly.
She immediately was fine with what she was going to do next.
Yeah, so I think it was
She
planned.
was like, let's do it. Like, I guess she figures out too, like, she's going to die anyway. So she might as well take it out. So she sees this oil, and she's still got her cigarette. Remember, she's smoking through the whole episode. And then she does that whole, like, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned line. And then she throws that cigarette down, and all their eyes are like, oh my God. And then it explodes. It explodes a lot. Is that normal?
I don't know. I've never...
I mean, it's a great explosion. Yeah, they did a good job, but...
I have no idea what an explosion looked like in person.
Yeah,
but
it was a lot. I don't know how flammable crude oil is, but I mean, because it came out from all over, like, the whole cemetery, so it was like it just lit like a whole stream through all of them. So everything's blown up. Are they dead? I don't know. I feel like some of them probably got out with just really bad burns. I don't know if it'd be that.
But definitely, I definitely think she was ready.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, because if she was, I mean, either way, she was ready quick. I think she was just like, she's like, well, I'm already here. So
yeah,
either get shot or buried alive or just take them all down with me.
And she took them all down.
She took them all down. They're all gone. No one gets anything because everyone's greedy. That's the lessons. Yep, don't be greedy. That's the end of the episode. And it cuts to Crypt Keeper's watching the TV episode of this.
Yeah.
He gets to the part where she's like, bitch, and then just like throws a cigarette. And then it's cute because like he watches the end of the episode, and it cuts to the Crypt Keeper, and he mentions about John Kassir being in the episode. That there was like a very special guest that seems like really familiar and is really great.
You know, kiddies, there's something about this little tale that interests me.
Well, I'll be damned.
I think it's this actor. Yes. The others are good, but this one, we're talking a real bleeding man type. He's a regular Gory Cooper, a Robert Redford. And that voice, I could swear it reminds me of someone I know.
So yeah, I thought that was kind of a cute little nod. Plus, I really like that they show the Crypt Keeper's feet here. They don't always show his feet.
No.
That's the end of Season 5, Episode 11, Oil's Well That Ends Well. I do have some trivia here from IMDb. This was the final appearance of Rory Calhoun from Motel Hell, the older guy. This is the last movie he did, or last show he did. The title is a parody on the play All's Well That Ends Well by William Shakespeare. This is the only episode where John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper, actually appears on screen as an actor. The Crypt Keeper is shown watching this episode. At the end, he rewinds it to a scene with John Kassir and starts praising him. He says that, quote, this actor was as good as Gary Cooper or Robert Redford, and that his voice reminds him of someone he knows. Crypt Keeper, you're so punny. And the best Crypt Keeper pun is...
Looks like business is really booming for Carl and Gina. Talk about flame and fortune.
The next episode is Season 5, Episode 12, Halfway Horrible. Ivotres, thank you so much for being on this episode today. Is there anything you want to plug? I'm going to put whatever, like I'll put your Twitter and all that too in the show notes, but is there anything else you wanted to say before we close it down?
Well, I just want to say you could follow me on YouTube. You could just type in horror movies and beyond, and everything will pop up on Google. I'm on Twitter, and I'm mostly on Twitter and Instagram. I do have a Facebook one, Horror Movies and Beyond. And stay watching horror films and have fun. That's what they're supposed to do. I mean, that's what they're supposed to give you, and that's what you are supposed to do. Just have fun. That's all.
Exactly. Yes, I agree. I watch so many horror movies sometimes. My one friend's like, anytime I say I'm watching a movie, he's like, oh, is it horror? I'm like, yeah, it probably is.
But there's so many levels of horror. That's what people need to understand.
So
there's some really, really like gory, scary ones, and then there's cutesy ones. But it's for everybody. That's why.
It is. Thank you, everyone, for downloading and listening to this episode. You can follow the Good Evening Kitties podcast at Twitter at GEK Podcast or at GEK Podcast. You can also follow the Facebook page. You can leave a review on iTunes, Podcast Republic, or on Facebook also. And again, thanks so much for listening, and have a good one.
I just had poison.